States ranks as the 12th wealthiest country with the second highest GDP per capita in the world. So why do 1 out of every 8 Americans fall below the poverty line?
An example of poverty that I've experienced growing up is on the east side of San Antonio, where my dad is from. There's a clear lack of what can I say, government interference with you see buildings torn down, you see the roads highly mangled, potholes everywhere. You see basically the community falling apart because it's a higher minority based community. You can tell there's no government action there. So I believe that the government can increase their spending in all areas that need it and that are in need of government interference rather than just focusing their money on non-minority peoples.
Poverty in America, I think, stems from a huge problem that happened earlier on in our history. Like, for example, in the 50s, there was a lot of redlining. They call them red line districts. When suburbs first started coming around, black people and other minority groups were not able to get the same assets as white majority. So therefore, they were particularly cast aside into these smaller pocket neighborhoods, which now have established themselves as hoods. So I think poverty today, modern, is basically a combination of what happened and how those neighborhoods stirred and turned into crime neighborhoods and poverty and lack of opportunities. So that's really the problem. And I think the government has been helping with things that are systematic, like redlining or other things like that, but we still have a far ways to go.
No, I don't think the U.S. government is doing enough to help poverty in America, since we still have thousands of veterans who come back from war and don't have a place to live or anything to eat.
I believe that there are some programs in place like food stamps and welfare, but I think the United States needs to do more in terms of actual programs that will help people get out of poverty. I don't know exactly what that would be, but there needs to be more programs in place.
I guess we could just dump more money into policies or to create new jobs instead of using it for other things that aren't necessarily as useful as helping out the veterans.
I think America should raise minimum wage to help with poverty.
So what is poverty? This is because poverty isn't simply a lack of income or resources. Poverty includes hunger, malnutrition, limited access to education and other services, social discrimination, and even includes a lack of participation in governmental decision-making. There are 2 ways that we measure poverty in America: absolute poverty and relative poverty. Absolute poverty is when the income of a family is below the defined poverty level, so they cannot afford basic goods and services. Relative poverty focuses more on a person's way of life and is defined by falling below the minimum acceptable standard of living in a certain society or region.